Hi everyone, Mr. H here. This is chapter 1.4 Stakeholders. In this video, we will explain the concept of stakeholders and we will explore the relationship between the different stakeholders and the business. So let's get started. Stakeholders are individuals, groups of people, or organizations that have an interest in the activities of a business. So they care about what happens in the business. They can either affect the business with their actions, or they can be affected by the actions or the activities of the business. So they are stakeholders. Now we can understand stakeholders into different levels. We can classify in two ways. They can be internal stakeholders, the one inside the business, or external stakeholders, the ones outside the business. So internal stakeholders can be, for example, the shareholders. Shareholders, the owners, of course, they have an interest in the business. They would like to make sure that the business is making profit at a low cost. They would like to make sure that everything in the business is running smoothly, is running properly, that they are getting they're getting sales, that they are producing properly, okay, that everything is working out effectively. I mean, they want their profit. They would care. Managers also are internal stakeholders, like the CEO, the senior managers, the middle managers. They will have to report to shareholders how the business is doing, and they would like to know that everything in their respective areas or departments is working properly and is contributing to the growth and profitability of the business. Below managers, we have supervisors, and supervisors will also care about the business. They would actually take a look at what every single member in their teams is doing, that everything is being done properly, that objectives are being met, that operations are running properly. So they would contribute also to the growth of the business. And we have also employees and unions, where employees, of course, they would like to make sure that the business is growing, that the business is running properly. They would expect the right working conditions, the best working environment. They would have a fair pay for their jobs, for what they do. So they would also have an interest in what the business is doing and that they are getting a proper retribution for their work. Unions, even though you can see unions as external organizations, I mean, they are these organizations that represent the employees. And this is why we consider unions also as internal stakeholders, because they are the representatives of the employees, of the workers, before the shareholders and managers. Their complaints and their agreements would also affect business decisions or influence the business decisions. So they are also part of internal stakeholders. Now, looking outside the business, we have also external stakeholders, and we can mention a few. For example, the government. I mean, the government will check that we are following the rules, we're following the regulations, the legal requirements to function properly. Taxes must be paid, and we must accomplish with all government expectations. Also, suppliers. I mean, suppliers would care that we are aligned with their own views of proper business practices. They would also would like to keep being our providers. I mean, they wouldn't like us to be changing suppliers from time to time. They want to keep selling to us, so they would care that we are running properly. And of course, if we have some credits with them, they would also like us to pay as soon as possible. So yeah, suppliers would also care, and they are external. Customers and consumers, maybe they are one of the most important external stakeholders for a business. I mean, this is the group of people we would like to listen to, their suggestions, their how much they enjoy or not enjoy our products or services. We would like to listen to their concerns and their doubts and their questions about the products or the services. We want them satisfied, and we want to meet their needs and wants. So yes, they might be one. They will be our most important external stakeholders. Okay, and they care that we are doing things right, and they care that we are providing them the highest quality products or services that they want, and at a fair price, of course, if they are price sensitive. And then we have the community in general. I mean, your business will be located in a specific region or area of a city, okay, or of a region, or of a district. So whatever you do will anyway affect or influence what's going on outside the business. Okay, I mean, if you are in a specific neighborhood, your business activities will anyway influence and affect what's going on in that neighborhood. And what happens in the neighborhood will also influence your business. So yes, the community has a say in whatever happens. Okay, they will influence your business decisions, and also you will affect them somehow once you start activities there. So community is something we have to care. Okay, and don't forget your customers and consumers belong to that community. So it's a good idea to keep the community happy about our business activities. Okay, um, or at least not uncomfortable with our presence as business. Then we have investors. I mean, investors would like to see us grow because they want to make sure that our business is growing in order to provide more capital, invest in our businesses, or keep investing if they are already doing it. So yes, investors care about our growth. If we are a growing business, if we are one that is becoming very successful, they would like to establish a relationship with us, okay, and to develop or come to some agreements. Okay, they want to grow with us too, and they want to invest their money in our business. So yes, they would also care. Um, Pressure groups. I mean, all of the other different organizations outside, like for example NGOs, um, or human rights groups or environmentalist groups. All of these social groups outside the business also would have a say. I mean, um, whatever whatever their expectations or whatever their fights are, they would also influence the community and they would also influence the market. So a community that is very environmentally responsible would care about you as a business being also environmentally friendly. So these pressure groups will also influence those market trends, and that must be something we must pay attention to. So they will also have a say, or they would also have an interest in our business. And finally, the media. I mean, the media would always be attentive to anything that is going on around a specific community, and what the media ends up saying about us, about the business, about our business, would anyway influence the attitude of the market towards the business. So yes, the media is another external stakeholder. Okay, so now we have all of them. We have the internal stakeholders and the external stakeholders. We have also explained what they might be looking at or what they might care about us, about the business, and that's something we have to consider. Now, what about competitors? I mean, we haven't mentioned competitors in these two lists. Why? Well, competitors are usually not considered stakeholders because even though what they do in the market, what they do as competitors might influence business decisions, even though they look at us when we're doing the right thing and they would like to follow us or beat us, or if they are something we have to compete against because we need to get more market share, competitors are not considered stakeholders because they don't really care that our business grows. Actually, they don't want us to grow. So we usually don't consider competitors as actual stakeholders. Okay, we don't see them as people or groups or organizations that have a say in what the business does or influence the business decisions that directly. So no, they aren't stakeholders. Now there's just one question before we end, which is which stakeholders' interests can cause conflict and which can promote mutual benefit? Well, when you look carefully at each of these stakeholders, you can start imagining that some of these interests might align together. Like, for example, shareholders and managers, they might be aligned in what they specifically want and what they expect from the business. Also, supervisors, but employees might be, for example, and unions might be more interested in getting higher salaries or getting higher benefits or better working conditions that might compete with the shareholders and managers' decision to cut costs or reduce costs the more they can. So, well, in this case, those stakeholder interests are at competition, and that might cause conflict. Also, when we look at stakeholders, a community that does not accept the presence of a factory in their area might lead also pressure groups and the community to start protests and try to fight the presence of the business in that area. So yes, we have to take always a look at all of these factors, all of these groups of people, because we have to care about possible conflicts that we have to take care of before they actually start or happen, or that we have to deal with when they already started. And we also have to take advantage of the ones that are mutual. Okay, so when we find an alignment between the specific stakeholders' views or expectations towards the business, then we can become more successful. So that's the idea. Obviously, there are some of these stakeholders you would like to listen the most, and there are these other stakeholders that you might end up listening to the least because they are not that influential. So two important concepts to remember here about the different stakeholders is their interest and their level of control. Obviously, for example, shareholders and managers, they have the last word in what happens in the business, so their interest and their control are at the highest in terms of in comparison to other stakeholders. The government will have a great interest in us doing the right thing, but they might not have such a big control on what the business does internally, for example. Okay, so this is something interesting to consider. Interest and control. Some might have more interest in what happens. For example, the media, they might not really have such a great interest in our business unless the business gives a big piece of news or something they would actually like to care for or care about and publish. So they might not have a great interest in the business, and they might not either have a great control on the business decisions. Of course, it's just the media, it's an external stakeholder. So these are two aspects or two factors to consider when we think about each of the stakeholders: how much interest they have or they would show, and how much control they would have over the business decisions. And in that way, we can judge what to do about each of the stakeholders around your business. So this is it. These are the stakeholders and the relationship explained between each of them, and the possible conflicts and mutual benefits. A few examples of conflicts and mutual benefits that can arise between each of them. So that's it for chapter 1.4. Bye bye.